Welcome to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. Hey, welcome to the show. Glad to have you back. It's Dave yet again. We're going to be looking at really kind of the foundational level of setting up your podcast editing and support business. Give you some tools, some things to think about as you go from being a hobby editor, doing this for friends, doing it for free, maybe for a slice of pizza or a beer, to actually turning this into something that generates income, which I know my wife would appreciate. I'm spending so much time in the basement. She would be like, that'd be nice if you actually made some money at this. So how do we do this? How do we set up and take our love, our joy of podcasting? Maybe as we should be a podcaster. As a podcaster, we love doing it and working on our own show. Now we're going to leverage that love for podcasting, bring it into the podcasting space, and set up business, set up shop, hang up that shingle on the outside of our house. Hey, we're in business. We're ready to do business for you. But there's a gap. There's a gap from doing this on your own for your own sake and for your own purposes as a team of one, and then becoming accountable to someone else to help them in their podcast. It's a big step, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes some planning. So I want to kind of talk about how we, as podcast editors and support people, can really develop our brand identity. And this will really help you as an editor, as a support person, to define your mission, your voice, and your style. Ooh, you got style. You got style for miles, right? And I want to encourage you to look at this in a new light and make plans on how you can take your side hustle, your love for podcasting and editing and supporting podcasters, and transition that into actually becoming something more tangible, foundational, and something you can really fall in love with because you love podcasting. I love podcasting. We all love podcasting. Now let's turn this into a business. I'm glad you're here. Are you ready? All right, let's jump in. When we go from doing podcast editing for ourselves as a hobby to help a friend into something a little bit more substantial, we need to create a strong brand identity for what we do and who we serve, how we show up in this world, so people can identify with it. When we create a podcast, we do the same thing. We create a brand, we create a tone, we create a feel, and people are attracted to that. Some people like the snarky. Some people like the quiet and calm. Some people like the loud. Some people like the more thoughtful version of a podcast. So when I look at your podcast editing and support business, what's the tone? What's the feel? I'm a musician. It's all about tone and feel. That's what music is. And as we turn our attention towards our business we want to start, you got to set the tone. You got to have a feel to what you do. And that comes back to brand, comes back to identity. All of this is essential for you and I as we set up our podcast editing and support business. We are working with people every day as podcast editors, and they just have to connect with us. And how do we attract these clients to what we do? A cohesive brand is not only something that communicates that you're a pro, that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, but also builds trust and recognition in a crowded market. You have people paying $5 an episode on some of these websites where you can hire a hired gun to do your work. Or there's you who wants to create a relationship, an ongoing friendship and community and support that goes beyond taking out an and an ah. There's so much more to podcast editing than the basics. The basics should be paid for with basic amount of money. You're worth more because you bring more to what you do and who you help. So the big thing in here is we need to define our mission. What is your podcast editing and support business? What is the mission for what you do? First, what is your purpose? Your mission, and people will say in business, your mission statement should really be very succinct. It should describe what you do, who you serve, and the unique value that you provide. The one thing about a mission statement, it also identifies who you don't serve, who you don't work with, and what values you do not embrace. And I know that seems limiting in the moment, but I want to put you in the front seat of your car for a moment. And you turn on the car, the radio comes on, and a song comes on the radio, and it's an artist that you cannot stand. Like, you can't hit the seek button or the next preset button fast enough, because that song that's on there right now makes your skin crawl. That artist, that style of music, that specific song has memories attached to it that you don't want to remember right now. There's something about that song that just makes you go, oh my gosh, no. And you hit that button. In that moment, you're making a choice. You're saying, this is not for me. So for me, and I'm sorry if you love her, but it's Beyonce. Anything to do with the Queen Bee, I'm hitting skip. I'm hitting the next channel. I'm hitting off. For me, as a musician and the style of music that I love, that is the opposite of everything I love. Now, if you're a Beyonce fan or you are Beyonce, my condolences for my thoughts. I love you as people, but for me, no thank you. So there's stuff that you're going to love that I can't stand. There's stuff I love that you'd be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? We all have tastes. We all have preferences. And when we're creating our mission statement, don't just focus on who you serve, but focus on who you do not serve. And that will help you to narrow down your focus so that you're investing the right time and the right people toward the right goal, because you know who you're working with and who your ideal client is. When we first start out as podcast editing and support people, we'll take anyone with a pulse, anybody that will say, yes, please, I want to hire you. We'll say, yes, we'll take anyone, please. And in that moment, we often devalue ourselves. We often take the scraps and the crumbs because we just want to have a client. And I get it. I understand that that's really important to get a client. But for me and how I'm developing my business, I'm taking those clients for free and giving them a window that says, I will work with you for 3 months, 4 months. I'll do all the stuff for you. But at the end of the 4 months, we're going to have a conversation and I'm going to prove to you my value. And at the end of 3 months, 4 months, whatever our term is, if you decide that all of the things that we've done together is not worth continuing and paying for, then we'll separate and I'll go find another person and do the same thing. Build a relationship until I find the right person who values me and values the abilities and talents and passion, commitment, expertise that I bring to you as a podcaster. Until I find that right person, I give everyone a short window. We work together. I do my best. I pour my heart into my relationship, my work, my timelines, my deadlines, everything. While working a full-time job, I'm doing all these things so that I can get to the point where I can say, hey, are we working together in the future or is this relationship over? Don't marry your clients, date them when you're first starting and just go out with them. Nice and casual, but give it an end date and say, listen, at the end of this 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, I'll work with you for free. I'll show you what I can do. And then let's have a conversation and see if you want to work with me in the future. And here's my rate. That's how I'm approaching it. Instead of taking $5 on one of those websites and battling with a bunch of people for the lowest dollar amount possible, I'd much rather skip all that, work for free, and build solid relationships with somebody who trusts me. That's my approach. Now, your approach might be completely different, but you need to figure out who you work for, who you show up for, who do you serve, and what is unique about what you do over all of the others. Just go on Google and type podcast editing services on Google, and that's who you're up against. Pages and pages and pages of people that charge $2,000 an episode or 35 cents an episode. You are, the scale and the range of prices are all over the place. So instead of finding your value in what other people do, find the value in what you do. But you need to know who you serve. So, for example, your mission statement could be something like empowering independent podcasters. See, independent, meaning not people with a huge budget and a team of 30, and they just hit the mic and they don't do anything with the stuff. Somebody writes the script, they show up, drink coffee, and read off a script. That's not independent. Empowering independent podcasters to sound their best. See the word sound, implying maybe audio over video? Possibly. Video needs good sound too. Independent podcasters who to sound their best and grow their audience through expert editing and support. I would write that up, type that up, put it in my email signature. I'd put it on my website. I'd stick it on a sticky note on my monitor. I want that in front of me. I want that to be my reminder. This is my mission statement. I empower independent podcasters to sound their best and grow their audience through expert editing and support. It's kind of in the name of the show. How do you craft it? First, you got to ask yourself, what problem do I solve? Who benefits from my work? What impact do I want to make in the world of podcasting? Keep your answers concise, specific, and actionable. All these questions in the show notes. Review them and write them out. Ask yourself, what problem do I solve? Who benefits from my work? What impact do I want to make on the podcasting community and the podcasters that I work with? And remember, keep it concise, specific, and actionable. So we've defined our mission. Now what do? We go and develop and find our own unique voice. What the heck is a brand voice? What is that? Your voice is the personality and tone of your communications, whether it's friendly, authoritative, witty, supportive, some people snarky, some people rude. It should reflect your values and appeal to your target audience. So if you're snarky, I don't think working with a funeral home is going to be a great choice for you. You might want somebody a little more calm, relaxed, and attentive for that environment over maybe somebody who's kind and gentle. Might not be great for a construction podcast where it's all testosterone and big machines and loud, noisy, dirty environments. You might not really fit well in there. So you need to figure out where you fit. Your brand voice reflects your values, appeals to your target market, your target clients, who you want to work for, your dream podcaster. So how do you develop this? Consider your ideal client, that podcaster you just would love to work for, and how you want them to feel when they're interacting with you, your company, your brand. Are you the reassuring expert? Are you more creative as a collaborator, working side by side and back and forth? Or are you the efficiency guru? Timelines are your love language. Be authentic and consistent across all platforms. Be the same person on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, your website, your podcast, because you have a podcast. Be that person in all those different arenas. So there's no confusion. Your brand is solid and strong. It's the same Dave, no matter where you go, you get me. And if I'm not your guy, then move along because there's somebody right behind you that might be my perfect client. Good day, sir. Find your voice. It's super important. And you need to set the tone for your business. It's really important at the beginning. And then come back to it and see what changes over time. You might soften. You might get a little bit more something else as your business grows over time. But take a look at this once in a while and make sure you know your voice. There's another thing that comes into play here that we all talk about how you should never judge a book by its cover, but the cover is one of the most important things that people use to judge whether a book is worth buying. It's a very interesting paradox. But your visual style, your logos, your color schemes, and the consistency of what you put out into the world, super important. And it's a big part of setting your brand. So I'm in Canada. I live near Niagara Falls in Ontario, Canada. And here in Canada, we have our own way of talking. I might sound Canadian. I'm not sure. Some people don't say I don't sound too Canadian because I live close to the border, but hey, whatever. In Canada, we say A at the end of some of our sentences. The letters EH with a question mark generally. It's pretty popular. So A is pretty common here. And we don't say Z, we say Z here in Canada. So the letters Z or Z, see what I did there? The letters Z or Z and then ED, Z. So we say A and we say Z. So for my True Media Solutions.ca, that's me, I have that website. That's my overarching business. And my tagline is everything you need from A, EH, to Z, Z, E, D. Everything you need from A to Z. And if you're Canadian, you get it. If you're not, you're like, I don't know what that is. So I'm doing that on purpose. For me, I would love to just focus in on the Canadian market and be the go-to person for podcast editing, support, whatever you need, website design, helping you with your artwork, consulting, on and on and on and on. I don't see a lot of Canadian podcast editing and support people out there who do this at a grand scale. So that's kind of what I want to do. And that's where I'm heading with my company. But my branding is the same. I use red, black, and white. Again, the red and white are Canadian colors right from the flag. And I use maple leaves in my artwork. Everything is branded around the Canadian theme for a reason, including the A to Z. So we need to come up with some kind of consistent branding, color scheme, and consistency for your brand, for who you are and how you show up in this world. You need a logo. You need something that's identifiable. Somebody sees it on an artwork, on an email, or on a website. They're like, that's Sam. You just need that response. Decide if you want a logo type, which is text-based, or a logo mark, which is more of an icon-based, or some kind of combination of the two. Your logo should be simple, memorable, adaptable for various uses, from a website to social media to video intros, watermarks, everything. Merch, maybe. Your logo has to travel and be able to be used in multiple different ways. So think about it. Make it something that's easily resized, expanded, contracted, and your logo just needs to make sense. Again, logo type, text-based, or logo mark, icon-based, or some combination of the two. Create a great logo. The second one is to identify and stick with your color schemes. Choose colors that invoke the right emotions for your brand. For example, blue often conveys trust and being professional, while orange signals creativity and friendliness. Use color theory to guide your choices and maintain consistency across all of the branding you do. Keep it consistent, not dark red, light red, in between red, darker red, lighter red. Pick a red. Stick with it. Stay with it. Pick something that works for you from the beginning and be consistent. And that leads me to the last part here under visual style, is to make sure that your consistency is key in all that you do. Incorporate visual elements as far as logos, colors, custom graphics. uniformly across your website, social media, and video content to reinforce your brand recognition and to show you're a pro. So if I go to your YouTube channel and then I go to your website and then I go to your podcast and then I go to your emails and then I go to your Instagram, I should have the same look and feel across all of these platforms. You can't have floral and paisley colors and like really pastel things happening over on your website. And then I go to YouTube and it's black and dark and kind of gothic. And then I go over here and it's all, the letters are all kind of calligraphy and scripted. And then I go over here, it's all block letters. Wait a minute, what is happening here? Is this the same person, or is this person having an identity crisis right now? You want to make sure that you're consistent across everything. Your visual style, your logos, color schemes, and consistency are key to what you do. This is really going to help you as you identify your podcast branding and help you define your mission, your voice, and your visual style. These are all key elements for you as a podcaster and as a podcast editor and support person. A compelling brand identity is more than just a logo. It's the sum of all of the parts, including your mission, your voice, and the visual presentation of who you are and how you show up in this world. By clearly defining these elements and applying them consistently, podcast editors and support teams can create the most memorable, trustworthy presence that attracts and retains clients. So you got some work to do as you go from, again, being a hobbyist, editing for yourself, and now you're starting to go towards getting clients. Then you need to do some homework here and re-listen to this episode again and start the process. If you need any help with anything here, reach out to me at podcasteditingandsupport.com. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.